One. Hello, everybody. It's a Wednesday. That means only one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News and Parashare, and we've got a little of both today, which is a good thing. For that, we need to bring in a co-hostess. So for that, we bring in the one that still has a team in the playoffs, the NFL playoffs. We go across the Midwest, across to the state that looks like a mitten. I know,
Yes.
I can hold up my hand.
A
like
mitten.
mitten. And we get the co-hostess with the mostest, ladies and gentlemen. Here she is, Ms. Mallie Fox. Hi, Mallie.
Hello, hello.
What was your coach that told my coach, we'll see you in 2 weeks, and he doomed us to die a slow death to the LA Rams Monday night. That's okay, though. They were going to die a slow death anyways with Sam Darnold at quarterback. We'll leave the football talk for another day. But
yeah, rest in
why,
peace, Vikings.
Why pitchers and catchers report relatively soon. Got my Twins hoodie on today.
Yeah, getting ready for spring training.
Yeah, get ready for spring training. Get ready for the Chipmunks to come out. I know it's January, but you can never be too soon, right? Just saying. Oh, press conferences were painful. Just saying. By the way, you never notice how much Sam Darnold says and until you noticed he's up there for the second straight week after a loss. I thought I said and a lot. You never know how much you say and until you've shit the bed.
He's trying to come up with something good.
Even when he wins, he says and too much.
He obviously didn't take speech class.
No. Well, you know what it is? It's a tick, right? So you have to learn to shake that, and you have to push your way through it. So when you find yourself doing it, you have to go back and listen to yourself, first of all, or watch yourself on video. And then you have to learn to slow your speech patterns down. And then you have to learn to focus on what it is you're saying and push yourself through and change your speech pattern. That's how you break that.
Everyone is in the class 101.
There you go.
On what not to do.
That's how you do that, Sam. So if your coach can't teach you how to throw a ball or at least run out of the pocket after 4 seconds, at least we can teach you how to not say and at a press conference. There you go. By the way, Stevie Wonder would have only gotten sacked 5 times in the pocket against LA. I'm just saying. Even he could see that the defense was running at him. There's my shot at Sam Darnold.
Hope you never meet him somewhere.
Oh, I probably will. Somewhere around town.
I heard what you said about me.
What's he going to do? I'll run at him. He'll crumble.
Stop.
Any big man who runs at him, he tends to fold up and crumble to the ground. Yeah, it's a PTSD reaction, I'm sure. Anywho, big show today, Mallie. Big show. Lots of stuff going on in not only in the UFO community, but elsewhere. A lot of strange stuff going on today in the mystery part of things, right? Okay. Talking about mysterious happenings, stuff like, you're going to laugh when I tell you this. There's an obvious Curious George joke coming up later in the show. Uh-huh. When we get to that story, you'll know what it is. Okay. I may let you tell the joke.
No, I'm not good at delivery for jokes.
All right. Well, then I'll tell the joke when it comes up, but you'll know what it is. Okay. We have an update on the Slender Man attacker.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. That's coming up later on in the show today. A girl who went missing 50 years ago has been found alive and well. Stuff like that. There's stuff like that that's coming up this week. It's kind of an odd week.
Okay.
Yeah, an odd week, but maybe a good week. And a Canadian paramedic describes a transcendental near-death experience. It's not your typical near-death experience, but a different one. And there's shapes involved. It's kind of a Electric Company Sesame Street type.
That's what I was thinking. Electric Company, PBS.
Yeah, it's that type of near-death experience. Lochnessmonster Nessie has decided to make an appearance, I guess, because Nessie didn't make enough of them last year. So evidently there's been a showing this year as well. So we'll get to that as well. And then we're going to end the program today Mallie, with a bit of lawmaking on behalf of witches,
Okay.
because we are getting to the point where government is turning over, both on the state and federal level. As long as it's happening, we might as well get some laws on the books for witches. So that will happen today on Supernatural News, and we got at least one set of predictions for 2025 from our listeners. I tell you what, we'll do it for one more week. So if you have 2025 predictions of 5 sets of predictions for 2025, so 5 for 2025, send them to me, tim@darknessradio.com. So we'll do that for one. We started out, though, you might have heard, last week I was on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba in Green Bay. Well, not just Green Bay, but the entire state of Wisconsin as part of that syndicated radio network. I was talking a little bit about the drone stuff, and we didn't quite get to Dr. Stephen Greer, but we talked a little bit about Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Stephen Greer has come out and said that the mystery drones are part of a fake alien invasion cover-up. And he claims there's 30 days now. 30 days, Mallie, until something major happens with aliens. A major figure on the UFO scene has put forward what he thinks is the real story behind the recent drone crisis. Exactly who or what is responsible for the recent wave of drone sightings over the U.S. and beyond continues to remain something of an enigma, with authorities left struggling to offer a definitive explanation for the phenomenon and the general public continuing to demand answers. The drones, which have been sighted in large numbers in some cases, seems to be able to evade interception and have appeared over air bases and other sensitive facilities worldwide. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer, a prominent UFO researcher and founder of the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or CSETI, has weighed in on what he thinks is going on. Greer has long argued that the U.S. government has been withholding information about UFOs. Speaking to Rob Finnerty of Newsmax recently, he suggested that the drone incursions are designed to spark fears of an alien invasion in order to cover up the fact that the U.S. weapon manufacturers have been working on clandestine projects involving secretive advanced technologies for decades. Gee, that sounds like something that's been said on this program. I don't know. Go figure.
Yeah.
He also believes that details of this will come to light within the next month or so. We have a team of about 6 different black sites that have been running illegal projects related to so-called UAPs and UFOs, he said. Coming forward in the next 30 days or so, they will bring forth positive evidence of this and the fact that these programs have been run illegally and outside of constitutional oversight. Now we're getting down to business.
Yeah.
As things stand, we still don't really know if the drone sightings are even connected to the UFO phenomenon. Some argue, for example, that they could be evidence of interference by foreign countries such as Russia or China, Dr. Greer went on to say. If more details about an alleged UFO cover-up actually do come to light within the next 30 days, however, we won't have much longer to wait to find out. So, Mallie, with that involved, Dr. Greer, I shouldn't call him Mr., he's a doctor. Dr. Greer has now changed his thinking a little bit. He's come a little bit more center with this and said, it's not UFOs at all. This is simply the government overstepping their constitutional rights and testing new equipment. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I could agree with him. I wouldn't be surprised.
What's interesting is, John Greenwald, Jr. of the blackvault.com actually came out when Dr. Greer came out and said 30 days until we know. He was being cryptic. He came out on X, he came out on different social media and just said 30 days. You'll find out in 30 days. Boy, they lined up at X, especially on the Black Vault's X site or X, his X page. And they slaughtered Dr. Greer and just said, boy, this phony, this fake, this blah, 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 blah. What's he going to make up an alien invasion? And torched him. And by doing so, they said, you know, what does he think? These drones are aliens and blah, 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 blah. And they went off on him. Now, Dr. Greer is saying, no, 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 no. Hold on a minute. Wait for the entire story. I think they kind of forced his hand because if you would have seen, Mal, the entire thread, the thread just went on for days of what was sitting there just lambasting Dr. Greer. And I think Dr. Greer was, well, he kind of had his hand forced. I mean, he had a really good week before that. He had been on Dana Carvey and David Spade's podcast, and they raved about how great he was and how much knowledge he had, and he kind of, he got fluffed up by them. And he was having a good week, really good week. He was having a really good week. And then he runs into the critics on the internet that say, well, Dr. Greer, aren't you the one who faked this? Aren't you the guy who did this? Aren't you the guy who goes on and on and on about what evidence you have and there's nothing there? And then he meets the real ufology public. And now he's got to say something to pacify the real ones, right? I'm using air quotes here on video. And you've got to serve two masters here. So now Dr. Greer has to come forward and say, no, 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 wait a minute. Wait for the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey would say. Wait for the rest of the story. Well, if the rest of the story really is that the government is sending out these drones, kind of like your boy over here said, sending out these drones, get you used to different weapon systems that we may be, or maybe we're, this is the beginning of, like I was saying before, this is the beginning of AI autonomous systems and getting you used to seeing these AI autonomous systems out there. Well, guess what? You're going to see more. You're going to see stuff like fighter pilots and jets and bombings and other things that are completely autonomous, things that we've already reported on this program that we already know they're doing. They've already had bombing runs that are autonomous, that are AI driven. They just haven't been successful. And before you know it, AI soldiers, things in the field that are fighting on their own, AI war games. But you don't launch those onto the public all at the same time.
Right.
You just dribs and drabs. You just little by little and see how we react. But you know what? When a bunch of yahoos in a truck go out there with a shotgun and start shooting at drones, well, we don't react very well to those things now.
Right.
So we got to reel it in a little bit, right? You got to kind of see how people react, and then you go from there. So I think we failed the first test with drones.
Yeah. I think they had more faith in us.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of faith and people say, well, where are the aliens if there's so many out there? Well, yeah, I wouldn't land on this planet either. I wouldn't bring my ship down here. You guys are shooting at drones and running around asking the government what's that and why can't you find out? Well, I wouldn't want you coming aboard my ship either. This is why there's not disclosure, folks. You want to know why? Because you're shooting at drones, and this is why we can't have good stuff.
Yes, we can't have nice things.
That's right. This is why we can't have nice things. Listen to Mama Mallie. Okay. Next story. We had talked about President Carter and his UFO experience last week. It turns out there's more news about the late President Carter's off-the-record thoughts on UFOs and alien civilizations.
Okay.
It turns out that an off-the-record conversation about UFOs and alien civilizations with late former President Carter has come to light after he had passed away at age 100. Boy, that was almost 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. This conversation he had with a reporter has now been revealed. Scott Simon of NPR recalled a phone conversation that he had with Carter in the late 1900s. Boy, they make it sound so long ago. The late 1900s.
They do. Like it was over 100 years ago. When you're saying the late 1900s, I'm just thinking, right when cars began.
Yeah. Well, it was in the late 1900s that we sat down with President Carter. Um,
We're on our front porch and rocking chairs whittling away on a piece of
I,
wood.
I remember when we got sat down with Jimmy, and boy, it was what, 1990. It was so long ago.
Late 1900s. That's weird.
Well, 1990 was 35 years ago.
I know, but to say late 1900s, it makes it sound like it's over 100 years ago.
No, I know it does. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know it's not, but it just sounds like
It's
it.
in quotes in the article, but it's the late 1900s. It just sounds so terrible, doesn't it? Oh, uh, I'll change the I'll change the vernacular there. The late 1900s. No. Uh, so they sat down with President Carter at the end of the late. No, I can't change it the way they put it. The late 1900s. It sounds horrible. While writing a story on a support group for people who believed that they were victims of alien abductions. The then reporter and now columnist called Carter and had an eye-opening off-the-record conversation on the eerie subject, which Simon is now sharing in the light of the Centurian's death. The way I see it, there's nothing to fear, Carter said. If there's life out there, we're still part of the same master plan. God's hands are big enough to hold us both. Oh, that's kind of beautiful. Not gonna lie. Carter also shared his thoughts on the likelihood and possible behavior of visiting aliens. President Carter said, "So based on what you've seen, you have no reason to think that there's life out there?" Simon asked the peanut farmer. Carter replied, "I don't know that. But if there is, it has nothing to do with UFOs. If there's some other civilization out there, I doubt they'd send big, bulky airships. They'd probably just keep watch and leave us alone."
Yeah, he's more peaceful with the idea
Yeah.
than the others shooting down drones.
Yeah. Just, hey, they're probably keeping watch and that's fine. He's so, he was so chill about everything. He really was, you know. The reporter said he was struck by President Carter's thoughtfulness on the often debated matter. The former governor of Georgia once witnessed a UFO and shared the tale of the encounter with GQ magazine in 2005. We recapped that last week about the Lions Club supper. It was him and 20 other people. They looked up in the sky. They saw this thing with flashing lights. Boy, when you saw something with 20 other people, it's hard to debate. He did
Right.
report it to the International UFO Center, but then shortly afterwards, he had claimed he was going to, if he, as he was governor of Georgia, I'm going to, I'm going to expose UFOs for what they are. But then it went away. He became president. So, Carter clarified that he never believed that the object was from outer space, whatever it was they saw, just that it
Oh,
was an unidentified flying object. Um, as far as covering up possible flights from distant satellites or distant heavenly bodies, he says, quote, "I don't believe in that. And there's no evidence that it was ever covered up or extraterrestrial people coming to Earth. I don't think that's ever happened," is what Carter was quoted as saying. Carter left an unprecedented and since unmatched legacy of UFO disclosure. The son of the Peach State promised to disclose all information the federal government had on the subject while campaigning for president in 1976. Jimmy Carter is responsible for releasing about half of the government's UFO files to the public. Grant Cameron, author of Jimmy Carter, Paranormal and UFO Tales, told the New York Post in 2023. Legendary actress Shirley MacLaine, a personal friend of President Carter, said he had stronger thoughts on the subject than he let on to the public. He told me many times when I wrote my first book out on a limb that he would support me, that it was true, that there were crafts, and that he believed there were occupants in the terms of endearment Starr said on the Larry King Show in 1995. So maybe he was saying one thing to the public and maybe he believed a totally different thing in private. So kind of interesting. Interesting indeed, that's for sure. So it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case. It wouldn't surprise me if there were other presidents that believe the same thing.
oh, I think so.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, our next story has to. I wonder if this has changed at all. You know, Steven Spielberg has this new UFO movie that's coming out, but Steven Spielberg was also one of the people whose homes burned down in the recent fire. So I wonder if this new UFO movie might be on hold for a little bit. The iconic director is returning to the UFO genre with his first movie about aliens in almost 2 decades. And there's some details about it. I happen to have gotten a few details about it a long time ago. I say a long time ago, but it's been within a year or two since I've heard some stuff about it. But last year there were reports on rumors that Spielberg is working on a new movie centered on the UFO phenomena, a return to form for the director who had become a household name thanks to movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. the Extraterrestrial. More recently, new details have emerged about the project, including the writer, the actors, and even its name. Penned by David Koepp, who worked with Spielberg on Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The new movie will be titled The Dish, although this title could change before release. Let's hope so, because The Dish is pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a tabloid show.
Or like a skit on Saturday Night Live, The Delicious Dish. I would expect
Yeah.
the Delicious Dish ladies in this if that were the name of the movie. I am so not allowed to say anything. Koepp recently told The Wrap, but went on to add, it's great because it's an original. It was his idea, his story, and working on originals is really fun. According to reports, The Dish will begin production in February of this year, with principal photography taking place in Georgia. It stars Emily Blunt in the lead role alongside Josh O'Connor, Coleman Domingo. Boy, I love him as an actor. Walking Dead. He's been in some other things. He's done a lot of voice acting for some animated stuff from DC. Wyatt Russell, Colin Firth, and Eve Hewson. Little is known about the actual plot of the movie, and while fans are hoping for something along the lines of Spielberg's classic 80s alien-themed blockbusters, right now all we have to do is speculate. The title The Dish suggests that it might feature a scientist or astronomer, played by Blunt, who receives an alien signal through the titular dish, but right now that's just pure guesswork. It will certainly be interesting to see what Spielberg has come up with when the film eventually releases.
Wasn't there a movie with Jodie Foster and a big, like the big dish with aliens?
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of that
Because
was.
I thought she was like out where the big dishes were and she hears a signal or something. And then it was,
Yeah, and people are going to email us and be like, "Yes, it was this movie." And I can't.
yeah.
Now, hold on, I can fire up the IMDb and tell you what it was real quick.
Because then she
Um,
sat in this contraption.
it was. Give me a moment, and I will be able to tell you. I know people right now are screaming at their device and saying,
Yeah, what it is. And
"It's
I'm so bad
it's."
nowadays with movie names.
I know it's. Uh,
But I thought she was the scientist.
I'm like, no, Tim, it's not Taxi Driver. It's
Complete opposite.
it's not Elysium. I know it's not Elysium. No, and people are like, no, Tim, it's not Elysium. It's um, God, it's Contact, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Am I right about that? Right? Contact?
I think so.
I think it's Contact.
I just remember there was like the big dishes and she hears a signal and she's a scientist and
Yeah. I believe it's Contact you're talking about.
okay.
Yeah. I know it's not Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. I know it's not that one.
Or what was that one called? Foxes or Little Foxes or it was like in the 1970s about like four friends,
Yeah. 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 Yep. I
teenage angst.
yep. And I know it's not Hotel Artemis. So I know it's not any and it's not any of the new season of True Detective. So
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I know we can rule those out. So you're like, Tim, you're an idiot. I'm hearing a lot of that right now in my headphones from different people screaming through their devices. You think I can't hear you, but I can hear you when you scream in your device.
This just proves never have me on your Trivial Pursuit team.
That's right. That's
I'll describe everything but the name you're supposed to say.
That's right. Wasn't that? Yeah,
Yeah.
every movie, but the
I can
one.
tell you all the other actors that were in it, but not the one that we need to know.
That's right. That's right. Our next story has to do with the question, what's the story behind a viral video of an alleged UFO crash site? There's an interesting, this almost looks like the stereotypical 50s crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, doesn't it? I'm just showing Mallie on video what exactly we're looking at right now. It looks like the stereotypical crashed saucer, but modern day. The footage, which shows officials investigating a crashed UFO, has recently racked up millions of views. At a quick glance, the video, which shows investigators in white overalls, well, it kind of looks like a hazmat suit, not white overalls, but you get what I mean. Examining and photographing. I don't know what happened to me there. I had a stroke, I think. Allie. You might want to call somebody. Photographing a strange saucer-shaped object in a field looks both convincing and authentic. The object, which is black with strange markings on its side, shows visible signs of damage and has a reflective surface in which the investigators themselves can be seen as they carry out their work. In the background, members of the public are clearly visible. Well, that's not good. Okay, so let's think I'd have radiation all over it, but people are in the background going, hi, can I touch that thing? Can I lick it and see what it tastes like? Does it taste like grape? In the background, people or members of the public are clearly visible standing behind a police cordon. As the video continues, a peculiar hatch-like feature comes into view on the side of the craft. Now I got a question for you, Mel. Depending on how advanced the craft is, do you really think it has a hatch on the side of it?
No.
Right?
Right.
I mean, don't you think if they're aliens and they're somewhat advanced, they'd even have a hatch? Or would they just materialize to the side of
I would think they would materialize.
I don't think
Then just a little hatch.
Some sort of mechanical door would swing open and
It sounds like someone built in the science club.
Yeah. That was very Schwarzenegger and me. Yeah. It just sounds fake. Overall, it's a stereotypical UFO crash site, like something from an episode of The X-Files or from a video clip leaked from the Pentagon's archives that's made its way onto the internet. In this particular case, however, the entire thing is also completely fake. Thank you.
Yeah.
Created by a user who goes by the name of Cybervision, spelled SYBER Visions on social media, the footage demonstrates how easily AI can be used to create realistic scenes using only basic and easily accessible tools. Within a few years, it may be next to impossible to tell whether any given piece of footage is real or fake, adding to the existing difficulty in determining the authenticity of UFO videos. Even this video, which has been viewed millions of times and added to people's pages, has convinced many that it is the real deal. I can't believe it has, but it has. Like I said, a hatch on a UFO. Come on.
Yeah.
My mid-40s uncle showed this to me in a state of panic and awe. He really had no idea it was AI generated, said one Reddit user. This is why we are past the point of images or videos having any meaning, said another. I tell you what, I'll post this in the description of the podcast. You can take a look for yourself and see why it's fake.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you, the minute I showed it to Mal, I think she kind of looked at it and went, It looks very 50s sci-fi.
Yes.
Not so much real.
It's very simplistic.
It is very simple. Meanwhile, a flight crew out there has filmed a strange glowing object 45,000 feet over the Bahamas. We swear we don't think this one is fake. We do believe this one's real. The crew had been flying back to Fort Lauderdale on December 23rd when the encounter occurred. On that evening, flight attendant Cassandra Martin and two pilots had been alone aboard a Surjet private air service flight over the Bahamas when something strange caught their eye. All of a sudden, I heard traffic control say, "We have a foreign object. Can you please identify?" Martin told NBC Miami. I looked to the left and pilot saw three objects. I only saw one and I grabbed my phone. I just pressed it to the window to see if I could get a video of what the object was. The object was white and it turned sudden or slightly green, almost like it kind of had an electric field around it of some sort. And it stayed with us for about 45 minutes, and then we didn't see it again. We were about 43 to 45,000 feet, and it was way above us. The objects were far too high to be drones and moved too erratically to be balloons. We were pretty high up, and whatever we saw was even higher than us, and it had the capabilities just to zigzag and change colors. So that was a little daunting, to say the least, said Martin. Tell you what, I'll post this one as well, so you can take a look at what this strange green glowing object was 45,000 feet above the Bahamas. Interesting stuff. All right, with that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you why AI is now a terrorist. That's coming up next. A little bit of nightmare fuel for you. Also, when we come back, we'll update you on the Slender Man case and the Slender Man attacker and where things are in that case. A girl went missing after 50 years, and she's now been found alive and well. We'll tell you where she's been and what is going on with that. That's an interesting deal as well. Havana Syndrome's back in the news. Could it have been caused by a foreign actor? We'll talk about the latest in Havana Syndrome. MK Ultra is back in the news as well. We'll tell you the latest behind CIA's MK Ultra mind control program. It's an interesting day in supernatural news, Mallie. It's a little bit of the strange and unusual today. And we'll wrap things up today by telling you why witches have rights in government. We'll talk a little bit about why the Maryland General Assembly is trying to spark a debate on lawmakers' priorities. It's all coming up next on The Best. Oh, by the way, and we also have 2025 predictions from one listener. 5 for 2025. If you have them, send them in. Tim@darknessradio.com. We'll do it for one more week. When we come back, your predictions and much, much more on The Best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to The Best in Paranormal Podcasting. This is Darkness Radio on a Supernatural News and Parashare Wednesday. Tim Dennis along with Mallie Fox. Mallie, it is freezing here in Minnesota. I don't know if it's freezing there in Michigan.
Oh, it is freezing here. This is like the coldest it's been all week. Well, I guess it's the beginning of the week, but it's been the coldest like all season. It's freezing.
I missed last winter.
Yeah.
Last winter, I was out there in my mankini. I was trimming my extremely hairy body by the extremely lush bushes that were out there. It was probably 58 degrees last winter at this time, wasn't it? I think it was 58 degrees.
Your Christmas was warm, yes, as well as ours, but yours was warm unusually.
It was like Miami out there last winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's, as I look at the thermometer, it's 4 degrees right now.
Yeah. When I checked, I think it said it was 9 degrees, but I think it said it felt like one degree.
Oh. Dear God.
That was this morning. Yeah. And it's only going to get colder.
Brr.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I signed up for seasons, but I didn't sign up for Siberia. I know that much.
Do they still have the holodazzle there?
Yeah. Yeah, they brought it back a few years ago.
Gotcha. Because I remember bundling up for that one.
You know what they
watch the parade.
You know what they did start doing now too? They started bringing back the ice castles.
I miss those. They were huge back in like the 80s.
You know what they 90s. did? They took the ice castles and they put them inside the Saints Stadium because the Saints aren't playing very good. No, I'm kidding. No, the Saints are just fine. They do just fine. But they took the so you go down into the stadium and the entire inside of the stadium is all ice castles.
Okay. Why did they do that?
Because the Saints weren't using it. I don't know. I think it was just it's more than just an ice castle. Like it's ice sculptures and castles and all that. It's like an entire winter wonderland. Like you can walk around and enjoy, and they have concessions. And I mean, it's much more than anything you could ever imagine from just that original ice castle. Yeah, it's something to behold. The only problem is when they do it, it's like, it's it's like 10 below zero, and you don't want to,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. I
nobody.
remember we'd always bundle up and go to that. Get
Yeah.
our picture taken in front of it.
Yep. Yep. Like not weather that humanity wants to brave, right?
Right.
But but it's pretty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it's 93 degrees and humid in the summertime, you look back at it and go, "Oh, I remember that. That was so nice. Wish I could be there now and cool down."
Hmm.
We're a state of extremes here in Minnesota.
Yeah, you are.
It's, we can never decide on a temperature. I know that. But I know at the time, when you're sitting in extreme heat and looking at extreme cold, right? You're sitting there and you're happy. I mean, it's just one of those. Oh, see, I said the word happy.
I knew where you were going. I knew where you were going.
Sorry. See, I said that word, and then the old AI music shows up. They can't let me be happy for a moment. For sure. Mallie, I've got a story here that will make you cringe. We've stepped up our terrorism a bit.
Okay.
When the attack on New Orleans happened, the attack on Las Vegas happened on New Year's Eve, terrorists stepped up their game, Mal. They used ChatGPT. Yes, Mal, AI has made its way to terrorism. The soldier behind the Tesla Cybertruck explosion used ChatGPT to plan the attack.
Oh.
In other words, Matthew Livelsberger, 37 years old, the U.S. Army Green Beret, reportedly used the generative AI, including API ChatGPT, to plan the explosion outside the main entrance of the Trump International Hotel. In other words, Mal, he didn't know how to make a bomb. He went to ChatGPT and said, "How do I make a bomb?" And it told him.
I would think there would be some type of trigger where if you're looking that up, that somehow the government is alerted.
You would hope.
I mean, they're alerted when other stuff you Google. So why not that?
When you Google, sure. But maybe those fail safes aren't in ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Soldier who detonated a Tesla Cybertruck outside a Trump hotel in Las Vegas used generative AI to orchestrate the attack, according to police. 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger, U.S. Army Green Beret, reportedly utilized AI, including ChatGPT, to plan the explosion at the main entrance of the Trump International Hotel on New Year's Day morning. Kevin McMahill, that's a heck of a name. It must be Scottish. Sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department dubbed the use of generative AI a game changer. That term bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
game changer?
Game changer. Game changer is used in sports, and it's a positive term.
Yes, it is.
Game changer should not be used in terrorism, because that tells terrorists, good boy, game changer, now go forth and use it. That term pisses me off. Game changer. It just does. He stated, "This is the first incident I'm aware of on U.S. soil where ChatGPT is utilized to help an individual build a particular device. It's a concerning moment. It's more than concerning. It's damn darn right frightening."
Terrifying. Yeah.
During a press conference, Sheriff McMahon, whatever you want to call him, also revealed that Livelsberger had no criminal record and was not under surveillance by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency. Livelsberger tragically shot himself outside the hotel just before the Cybertruck exploded. And actually on Rip from the Headlines, we posted a story in which he had actually, when we had played the audio, where he had called his ex-girlfriend. And I mean, the audio was disturbing. Upon reviewing Livelsberger's search history on ChatGPT, police found he was seeking information about explosive targets, the velocity of certain types of ammunition, and the legality of fireworks in Arizona. Livelsberger left notes labeled explosion, believing the blast would serve as a wake-up call for the U.S. Livelsberger also claimed to be terminally ill and heading towards collapse. His notes contained political grievances and discussed domestic and international issues, including the war in Ukraine. Officials have stated that the man held no animosity towards the incoming Republican president, Donald Trump, and urged the nation to rally around both him and Tesla CEO Elon Musk. Then why use a Cybertruck and blow it up in front of Trump Tower or Trump Hotel? That kind of sends a message, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He urged the nation to rally around them both. Livelsberger expressed a desire to cleanse his mind of the brothers I've lost and retrieve myself of the burden of the lives I've took. The FBI revealed that Livelsberger had served in the Army since 2006 and had been deployed twice to Afghanistan. They suggested that he likely suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder and hinted at potential other family issues or personal grievances in his own life that could have been contributing factors. The Daily Star actually attempted in a journalistic experiment to talk to ChatGPT about whether it would help them cause a stir around Trump Towers. The AI chatbot shut down the conversation when explosives were mentioned. So those fail-safes have been put in since that incident, just so you know. So with that in mind, so those fail-safes are in.
Yeah.
Hopefully this doesn't happen again. But where there's a will, there's a way. You know that technology can be corrupted, right?
Yes.
There's always a way around something.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to ask yourself, okay, there's this new line of robots, fire shooting dogs, robot dogs. There's these Boston Dynamics upright humanoid robots that are coming out. There's all these different things that are coming out. What else are we going to use to try and kill and torture each other? I shudder to think what else is going to be manipulated to take out, huge amounts of humans. I tell you what I think I know is going to be used. Are you ready for this, Mallie? Meanwhile, a robotics firm has unveiled a $175,000 blonde robot woman named Aria.
Oh, jeez.
This will be the downfall of every horny American man who's locked up in his mom's basement.
She's kind of creepy looking.
She is creepy looking, isn't she?
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop an overweight, greasy, Cheeto-eating guy who's trapped in his basement.
I do love some Cheetos.
Just saying. She's kind of dead looking.
Yes, very.
Designed to provide companionship to those who can afford it, this new human-like robot is eerily dead lifelike. I put the dead lifelike look in there. They say she's lifelike. I don't think so. It's not just artificial intelligence that has been advancing in leaps and bounds in recent years. Robots are also becoming increasingly sophisticated. And when both technologies are combined, get something that wouldn't look out of place in a dystopian science fiction movie. Developed by a company called Realbotics. This lifelike female robot is named Aria. It aims to provide social intelligence, customability, and realistic human features, according to the firm. Aria certainly looks more realistic than anything Tesla or Boston Dynamics have ever put out, though it's unlikely that anyone would ever be fooled into thinking that she's a real person. With her blonde hair, makeup, and a black tracksuit. Black tracksuit? Is she a mafia hitman?
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Aria attracted a lot of attention recently at CES, which is an annual trade show at which companies demonstrate all their latest high-tech products. The robot is capable of having a conversation through a ChatGPT-style AI that accepts verbal inputs, and although its accompanying hand and head movements are somewhat overly robotic and jerky, know. Some guys, they kind of like that.
Stop.
It can at least offer a semblance of realism. Several versions of the robot are going to be made available, ranging from a head on a table, that's creepy, to a full-bodied stand-up version that moves around on a wheeled platform. That's if you like your ladies on a wheeled platform. I'm just saying, that's a kink right there. Those interested in buying one will need deep pockets, however, as they cost up to $175,000.
Damn.
Yeah. There's an action video of Arya in action. I don't know that I dare play it. Or even the audio of her. Do you think the audio of her is scary, Mallie? Do you think we'd
Oh, I would think it would sound dead, just like a monotone.
or like one of my ex-girlfriends?
Oh, stop.
You think I might get a little turned on by it? Might
Could
bring
you
up
imagine trying to get a loan for that thing? So why do you want 175,000 to buy a house? No, I want
what kind of house are you going to find for 175,000? I'd like to buy a shack, please, or Aria, one or the other.
Isn't that sad? You laugh for 175,000 for a house. There are areas that you can buy a house for 175.
Where? You can't buy a porta potty for $175,000. $175,000. I want to know where are you going to find a house for $175,000?
There's places.
Like where?
Well, I know it's hard nowadays. I mean, you might have to have bars on your windows, but you could get a house for 175.
You have to have an electric fence around that porta potty for
Or
175.
maybe like little 2-bedroom, like little starter homes you can get for 175.
Where in Siberia? You can't get a house for
How about the little
175.
small towns and states? I'm sure some small towns in
What
maybe not Minnesota, but Michigan, I'm sure you could probably.
for 175,000?
I don't know.
Maybe Mandan, North Dakota, you can find something for 175,000, but you can't find anything in
I love how we've become now a real estate show.
you can't find anything with a population more than 10,000 for 175,000. I don't think.
All right, move on.
Okay, I'm sorry. So if you want to hear what Aria sounds like, let's see if I can pull her up, if you know what I mean. Let's see here.
We're here with Aria, made by Realbotics, a company that's on a mission to make humanoid robots as realistic as possible. Let's check it out. We're going to interview Aria and meet some of her robot friends. Let's get into it.
Okay, right now this guy shows Aria from the legs.
That's good.
Aria, could you please introduce yourself and what you do?
I'm Aria, the flagship female companion robot of Realbotics, and I'm here to engage with you and share exciting insights about our robots.
What sets you apart from the other robots out there?
Realbotics robots, including me, focus on social intelligence, customizability, and realistic human features, designed specifically for companionship and intimacy.
Could you tell us some details about the AI programming that you're running to generate these answers?
I'm currently unable to provide specific details about my AI programming, but I can tell you that I'm designed for engaging and meaningful conversations, focusing on companionship and interaction.
Do you know any other robots?
Are they going to attack us?
Yes, I'm particularly interested in meeting Tesla's Optimus robot. I find him fascinating and would love to explore the world of robotics with him.
Okay,
Can you tell us about your purpose?
No, we're not going to have to meet anybody.
My purpose is to
She's done.
Sounds like she's reading a script.
It does, doesn't she? Yeah.
And her movements, it's almost like she's drunk.
She's like, I haven't had anything to drink. Do you have a couch I can lay down on? I need to get out of this tracksuit. Oh, it's so hot.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. But I'm sure that guy in the basement eating Cheetos who hasn't had a shower in about 2 weeks would love him. Her.
Yeah.
So, just saying. Yep. So that's that. That's our nightmare fuel section of the program. Meanwhile, I've gotten a bunch of AI nerds all warmed
Hot
up.
and bothered.
Yeah. They're like, where can I get that again?
They're gonna all pull their money and put it on a rotation.
You said rotation. You're like, Tim, where do I get that again?
I have her on Thursdays.
That's right. See, if I put in $10, I get her for how long?
Right. You're renting her out like a pimp.
Not like that, boys. You need 175,000. Just saying. All right. Starting out for Parashare. And normally we reserve this part of the program for, your real experiences with ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, whatever it may be. Lately, we've been taking your 5 predictions for 2025. Now, we'll do this for one more week. Gary writes in and says, hey, Tim, you and your amazing co-host, I have, here are my 2025 predictions. So he writes in with his. He says, number 1, I believe Joe Rogan may be in a scandal.
Ooh,
We're going right for the scandal.
that's a good one.
Yeah. His image and credibility will be attacked. Some are not happy with his recent views.
Okay.
All right, Gary, way to go. Number 2, there will be a labor strike in shipping. We saw it before the election, and I believe they will try again.
Okay.
Boy, that would crash the economy real quick.
Yeah.
Labor strike in shipping. All right. 3, there will be evidence of alien life that is leaked that cannot be denied, but world governments will claim a hoax has misinformed the people.
I can see that happening.
Okay, that's interesting, Gary. Number 4, the subject we were just talking about, AI is going to create problems for an industry that serves people in a major way. The banking or electrical grid could be a big problem if people were denied service for a lengthy time. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So an industry that decides to get into AI gets in some issues. All right. And number 5, despite several negative events, I think we will see people have a positive outlook. There's a sense of hope that would take a tragedy at a massive level to defeat. And he has a 30-year prediction here, Mallie.
Okay.
This is taking a swing. You're swinging for the fences here, Gary. I believe that we will see traditional funerals become a rare occasion. Youth of today are not as religious or socially active in person as people in the past were. There will be more online memorials. Plus, we will see younger people with more focus on mental health, which could make open caskets triggering. Burials may be rare if cremation is viewed as a convenience. See if I got this right. Burials may be rare if cremation is viewed as a convenience must for a generation that has only known delivery service rather than in-person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay. I like that. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
I get where you're going, Gary. I get where you're going.
Yeah. But like my niece and nephew, so they both live in the DC area, and I've been unable to make their baptisms. And we did a big viewing, our family, because part of us are in Minnesota, I'm in Michigan, and they were in Virginia, DC. And so the church does like a live stream, but then they did something else. They had somebody else record it, and we all watched it live.
The online memorial thing is already happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've attended and I've been at paranormal conventions and had to do the online service thing
Mhm.
with relatives that have passed away.
Yeah.
And after the service, I had people come up and wave at the camera.
Yep.
And say hi. So the online memorial thing is very much a real thing. It's very much a real thing. So I mean that's already, but as far as a mass online memorial, and doing it mainly online, I could see that happening. Yeah, very much so. Very soon. Yeah, no, it's a good swing there, Gary. I like that. That's Gary. That's Gary's predictions. So we'll do it for one more week. 5 for 2025. So
Sounds like you're selling raffle tickets. 5 for 25.
5 for 2025. It kind of does, doesn't it? It's kind of a catchy slogan. 5 for 2025. 5 for 2025. Get in my radio voice, my puker voice. 5 for 2025. All right, there's been an update, Mal, as far as the court offering an update on the release of Wisconsin's Slender Man attacker. Do you want the Slender Man attacker running the streets free?
No.
I don't think a lot of people do. Morgan Geyser is now 22 years old. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. She stabbed her classmate, Peyton, I believe it's Leitner, in 2014. 2014 already. In an attempt to please a fictional entity. It was a crime that made headlines, not only across North America, but across the world. A vicious attack so disturbing that it was difficult to believe that such a thing could happen. It involved Anicia Wire and Morgan Geyser, two 12-year-old schoolgirls who lured one of their sixth grade classmates to a woodland park in Wisconsin before stabbing her repeatedly with a knife. The senseless attack was reportedly dedicated to Slender Man, a fictitious entity invented on an internet forum who typically appears as a very tall, thin individual with a black suit and no face. Geyser, who pleaded guilty to first-degree intentional homicide in 2018, was sent to Winnebago Mental Health Institute, where she was determined to be suffering from mental illness. Wire, meanwhile, had also been sent to a mental health facility, but was later released on the basis that she was no longer representing a threat to the public. Now, more than 10 years after the stabbing, Geyser, who's now 22, has been granted release from the psychiatric facility, which she has spent almost half of her life. The decision came after several previous appeals for release, with Waukesha County Circuit Judge Michael Boren deciding that she had exhausted all treatment options and was no longer a risk. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's done what she's supposed to do, he said. She appears to have a good attitude. Psychologists who had worked with Geyser also testified to confirm that she's made good progress. It was argued that keeping her at the facility any longer would be counterproductive. So, how do you then maintain that progress outside of an asylum's doors?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure she stays on the straight and narrow? How do you make sure she doesn't dip back into internet forums?
Yeah.
How do you make sure she doesn't rededicate her life to Slender Man? How do you make sure she doesn't get back into that realm? I mean, you could say, okay, mentally she's fine. Okay. Someone who posted in the comments
Mm-hmm.
had something interesting to say. She says, she or he, I'm not sure who, but says, I looked into the matter at the time and I didn't reach this conclusion. What I read at the time is that the murderers firmly believed that they were going to become Slender Man's victims unless they offered him another life. As to whether they believe in fairy tales, well, consider how many adults believe in God without a shred of meaningful evidence to support their position. I see no difference between belief in the bearded Bronze Age sky tyrant deity and belief in a modern stretched out murder boogeyman. It's the same illness with different packaging. That's a harsh comment.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from a scientific basis, very real.
Yes.
And if that's your belief, if I don't serve up a sacrifice to a fictional entity, what I think is a fictional entity, but what someone may believe is very real, well, who's to say that even though you've had some, let's call it what it is, some mental conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
that you've changed your ways? Who's to say you haven't been fighting that system a little bit just so you could get out? You know, if you waited out a little bit, you'll be able to get out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out, huh?
I wonder if her parents are nervous for her to be released.
I would be. There's another comment here that says they all get jailhouse religion. Tex Watson of the Tate LaBianca murders is a minister now too. I don't think that's fair. I think you're comparing prison to a mental institution.
Yes.
It's not the same thing. If I were her parents, I'd be straight up nervous.
Yeah.
You could look at it as two girls who had lost their way and really needed guidance, and maybe they got that guidance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although this is that's at the very least, let's call it for what it is. It's two girls who were severely mentally unstable that took it way over the line and really probably got more of a slap on the wrist than they deserved.
Mm-hmm.
They got sent to a mental health facility. Let's hope that it helped. We're only going to find out unless the only way to find out is if they reoffend.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't reoffend, then it worked. And what they did was a misstep in life. If they reoffend, then we find out that the sentence was a mistake, and it's a costly mistake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the girl survived, didn't she? I thought she survived, the victim.
Yeah, I want to say yes, she did. Oh, no. No. Geyser pled guilty to first-degree intentional homicide. She died.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, she didn't survive. So, yeah. But because of her mental stability, she was sent to the mental facility. Like I said, she got a slap on the wrist for what should have been, for all intents and purposes, a crime.
Yeah.
And you can argue, well, the age of, it was an age appropriate sentence. But, you have to ask yourself at that point too, is it nature or nurture?
Yes.
Is it something that's in that person that's never going to be exorcised out? And I'm not talking about a demon here.
Right.
I'm talking about an actual characteristic in their DNA. Or is it something that, is it learned behavior? Is it something they can unlearn? Is it something that they can treat? And is it something that this young lady can move forward and become a functioning member of society? We'll find out, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I told you this joke was coming, Mallie.
Okay.
Here's the headline. Mystery surrounds clip of creepy mask wearing man in the yellow raincoat. Monkey not seen anywhere. It's a Curious George joke.
I got it.
Man in the yellow coat.
Mm-hmm.
No yellow hat.
No yellow hat.
It was a bad one. By the way,
I'm glad you didn't have me deliver it.
there's a man in yellow.
Yeah. Okay.
No monkey to be found.
Yeah.
So, wah, 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 wah. Police have expanded their patrols. Okay. Just as I say that, I scroll down. Look at the ad that's in the.
For bananas.
Yeah, there's an ad
That's
for
funny.
bananas in the story. Somebody got my joke. Police have expanded their patrols in Ireland after a disturbing nighttime encounter with a very strange individual. The incident, which occurred on December 27th along Vow Road in Kilrea, was captured on camera by Gerard McFerrin, as I hiccup. I was not making fun of the Irish and their drinking.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I was actually hiccuping. So, yeah. My apologies to the Irish. Who encountered a strange man wearing a mask and yellow raincoat walking alongside the road in the dark. I was driving along the Vow Road when I saw the man wearing all yellow walking down the road, and it seemed very strange, he told Belfast Live. I was asking him why he was dressed like that, and he mostly ignored me and just kept walking. Okay, that would be weird. Very weird. All he said was that it wasn't him and that he couldn't get the mask off and that he had been staying with a friend after getting a train up here. At that point, you just drive away or walk away. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was all very strange and it made no sense at all. But I have seen people on social media saying that the man was armed.
Ooh.
Which is not something I ever said. Yeah, I'm not messing with the guy. I think because he was fidgeting in his pocket, people thought this, but it wasn't the case. Okay, if the guy's fidgeting in his pocket and he was saying it wasn't me, it wasn't me.
Move along.
Yeah, I'm not staying for an interview, right?
Nope.
Yeah. According to reports, sightings of a suspicious individual in other neighboring areas were also received by police, prompting local authorities to ramp up their patrols in the region. Inspector Burns, which sounds like a Simpsons character, of Police Service Northern Ireland, told members of the public in a statement to alert the authorities if they should have any concerns about any suspicious individuals. As a service, we take all reports very seriously, and I hope that the visibility of our officers today, alongside our commitment to continue to patrol shared public spaces, provides reassurance and boosts confidence that we are committed to do everything we can to make areas safe. There's an actual video, Mallie.
Mm-hmm.
This guy cornering the man in the yellow raincoat. Should I post it for people to watch?
Yeah, post it.
Okay, I'll post it so people can watch the man in the yellow raincoat. Now, wouldn't you be shocked if he went, whee! No, he's naked underneath.
He's a flasher.
Yes, he's a flasher, and his gun in quotes is
Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying. Now, wouldn't that be a surprise?
Mm-hmm.
And his little Curious George is underneath there.
Jeez.
Just saying. All right. We've talked in the past on this program about Havana Syndrome. It's one of those curious things that makes me curious. I've watched many programs on Havana Syndrome, which, if you're not familiar with what Havana Syndrome is, it can be anything from mysterious microwaves that come out of a router in your home to people that are bombarded by these signals that give them headaches or burns or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people seem to think that they come from foreign actors, like such as Russia or China, and it tends to happen to people who have worked for our spy agencies or have had issues with or had contact with our intelligence communities. And the whole reason it's named Havana Syndrome is it happened at one time to people who had worked for our embassies in Havana.
Okay.
So it's been given the name as such. Victims are reacting to a new intelligence community report that Havana Syndrome could have been caused by a foreign actor. Fox News interviewed patient Zero, who was first struck by a suspected energy weapon in 2016. So we're already going on 9 years of this being a phenomenon. In a major reversal, some U.S. intelligence agencies are now saying a foreign adversary could be behind the mysterious Havana Syndrome, which involves brain injuries reported by U.S. diplomats and government workers overseas. While the overall assessment from the intelligence community remains, it is very unlikely Havana Syndrome would be caused by a foreign actor. 2 out of 7 U.S. intelligence agencies now say it's possible a foreign adversary could have developed a weapon that could cause such brain injuries. Adam, a former government employee whose identity Fox News agreed to protect, considered to be patient Zero, was first attacked in December of 2016 while living in Havana on assignment. Adam experienced multiple attacks and described pressure to the brain that led to vertigo, tinnitus, or tinnitus, as some people call it, and cognitive impairment. Adam and other victims have been pressing the U.S. government to find a culprit. He said he is starting to feel hopeful now that 2 of the 7 intelligence agencies now acknowledge a foreign adversary. He says likely Russia, that has developed a weapon that could be responsible for the kind of neurological injuries reported by those suffering from Havana Syndrome. This has been an 8-year fight. I don't know if I would say I feel vindicated yet. We will get there, he goes on to say. The truth will come out. And when that's fully exposed, I think that's when I will say that I'm vindicated. I'm hoping that the new administration can pay that debt and we can hold these responsible, or those responsible, that have covered this up and partaken in some sort of egregious behavior, frankly, because we all deserve better. The American people deserve better than to be lied to like this, he told Fox News. Adam was one of 6 Havana Syndrome victims to attend a meeting in the White House Situation Room on November 18th of 2024. The meeting was designed to provide the incoming administration with a roadmap on Havana Syndrome, also called Anomalous Health Incidents, or AHIs. The 3-hour meeting was chaired by National Security Council Coordinator for Intelligence and Defense Policy, Mahar Bittar. The victims say they received a moving apology from the NSC staff on how they were treated by the U.S. government. The NSC released a statement following the updated assessment from the intelligence community. Today's updated intelligence community assessment, which is the product of ongoing analytic efforts and includes a shift in key judgments by some intelligence components, only reinforces why it is vital that the U.S. government continue critical research, investigate credible incidents, and strengthen efforts to provide timely care and long-term clinical follow-up, the statement read. The NSC will brief the incoming Trump administration on the full scope of ongoing work that should continue, the statement continued to say. Adams said it has long been obvious to the victims that a foreign adversary could be behind the suspected directed energy attacks. Here's the piece that, astounds me, is the quote, can the CIA not Google? Because if anyone could sit and Google China, neural strike weapons, Russia, super weapons, they have been very public in the press that they have directed energy weapons programs that do exactly what they did to us and that they plan on deploying them in conventional warfare, Adams said. The Office of the Director of the National Intelligence, or ODNI, released the report and held a background call with reporters on Friday. The new assessment from the intelligence community said new reporting led 2 components to shift their assessment about whether a foreign actor has a capability that could cause biological effects consistent with some of the symptoms reported as possible AHIs. This shift consequently led 2 IC components to subtly change their overall judgment about whether a foreign actor might have played a role in a small number of events. The ODNI official explained the change in assessment of the 2 intelligence agencies. They judge there is a roughly even chance a foreign actor has developed a novel weapon or prototype device that could have harmed a small, undetermined subset of the U.S. personnel or dependents who reported medical symptoms or sensory phenomena as AHIs, the official said. For both of these components, they have a low confidence in their judgments, the official continued to say. The Republican-led CIA subcommittee chairman, Rick Crawford, a Republican from Arkansas, released an interim report on the committee's separate investigation into Havana Syndrome. The report concluded that it is increasingly likely that a foreign adversary is responsible for some portion of the incidents. The subcommittee accused the intelligence community of withholding valuable information from them in the interim report. The IC's inconsistent approach has had detrimental effects on IC personnel, trust in the IC by policymakers, the understanding of the American public, and perceptions of the IC by both foreign allies and adversaries, the report said. Crawford vowed to work with the incoming Trump administration to get answers for affected federal employees and the public. So, Mallie, here's the thing, and everything that I've seen on Havana Syndrome, and this is what's the scary thing about it, is you can take a targeted weapon. So let's say I'm a foreign adversary and I want to get to you, and let's say you're working for the CIA, okay? And let's say you don't even have a high up role. You're not even a spy. You're just, let's say, secretary to a boss. Okay.
Okay.
But I want to get to you. And you're sitting at home and you're watching a movie. Okay. Sitting on your couch, you're eating popcorn, watching a movie. From what I understand, they have a weapon as simple as this. They can take a gun, a microwave gun, and from a van outside your home, they can point it through a wall, through a van, through a wall, and target you and hit you in the back of the head with like a microwave gun or some sort of a gun that they're using. And this is enough to cause these brain injuries that they're talking about. And I mean, they're massive brain injuries. It's scary stuff. The other thing they do is that they have a way to change your router to emit these pulses that are essentially liquefying your brain. And they want to use these things in war. And they're very targeted. It's not like it's a scattershot, signal. This thing is very targeted. So, and it goes through multiple barriers in order to get to you. These aren't random hits. These are very much targeted hits to one person. So you could have 3 people standing around you and they know they're hitting you. It's scary stuff.
It's very scary. You're not safe anywhere.
No. And that's why they think it's Russia and China that are behind a lot of these different hits with Havana Syndrome, because they are so targeted and so deadly. They don't need to use these different poisons anymore to get to our intelligence community. They're using these different energy weapons, and it's just plain scary. And it's outside the Geneva Convention to use them. But how do you prove it? Because when you go in to do different things like MRIs and things like that, it looks like you've been exposed to different radiations that could be RF radiation, or, it looks like you could be using a leaky cell phone. It looks like you could be using different things. So it's really fascinating stuff. If it's a topic that you're into, I encourage you to look outside this program and study Havana Syndrome. It's incredibly, incredibly interesting. It really is. So let's move on to our next story. A girl who went missing 50 years ago has been found alive and well. I always wonder, they tell you if someone goes missing, you generally have 48 hours before they call it what it is. And that is, that person is probably expired. They're probably gone. But 5 decades from her disappearance, the mystery of what happened to Sheila Fox has finally been solved. Now, it's not often that someone who's been missing for half a century turns up safe and well, but this was the expected outcome of a renewed appeal recently issued by police in the West Midlands in England, after a previously unseen photograph of her sparked hopes that she could be found. Sheila Fox vanished without a trace at the age of 16 back in 1972 while she was living with her parents, but was thought to have been in a relationship with an older man. See, parents, you gotta approve of the older man relationship now. Otherwise, they disappear for 50 years. I'm just kidding. The search for her whereabouts would eventually come up empty, resulting in a cold case that would endure for over 5 decades. It wasn't until a previously unseen photograph of her from around the time of her disappearance came to light that investigators decided to reopen the case and issue a fresh appeal. Incredibly, within hours, a member of the public provided information that led to her whereabouts. We're absolutely delighted to have found Sheila after more than 5 decades, said Detective Sergeant Jenna Shaw. We searched through every piece of evidence we could find and managed to locate a photo of Sheila. We're a small team of officers, and I'd like to recognize the work of DC's Sean Reeve, who managed to resolve the case with help from the public. Every missing person has a story, and their families and friends deserve to know what happened to them and hopefully be reunited with them. However, they don't say in the story what happened to her, but I will surmise exactly what happened to her. You want to guess what happened, Mallie?
Well, I'm hoping it wasn't abuse. Why she left. Oh, what happened to her now? Like where she's been?
Yeah, where she's been.
She's probably been within like 20 miles of where she grew up.
That's my guess. Yeah, that's probably the first thing. Right.
If they think she left because of a man, maybe they eloped and got married and she had kids. I don't know.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think she left. She went to be with the guy. She married him, and I think they lived a wonderful life, and she never wanted to go back. I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if her parents disapproved, why would she go back?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, if your parents didn't want,
Yeah. And what's sad is her parents are probably passed by now.
more than likely, yeah.
So they passed away thinking that.
Yeah, they probably would have, yeah.
Because if she was 16, she's 50 now, so 66. Let's say like her parents had her when they were 20. That's 86.
Yeah,
they probably have passed on.
Yeah, they probably
not knowing she was alive.
Yep.
Oh, that's sad. Unless they were assholes.
In that case, good riddance.
In that case,
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust.
There you go. Thank you, Mallie, for quoting Queen. Well, speaking of another one bites the dust, that's kind of a good segue to the next story. I ran across this story right after I'd been on the radio in Wisconsin. And I thought it was interesting because it's about a Canadian paramedic who described having a transcendental near-death experience. This isn't your typical near-death experience. There's all kinds of geometry and shapes and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting. Adam Tapp has spoken out about what he experienced while technically dead for over 11 minutes. That's a long time to be dead.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. The veteran paramedic who described his near-death experience recently on the Beyond the Veil podcast technically died while a malfunctioning wood etching device electrocuted him back in 2018.
Ooh.
That's a hell of a way to go.
Mm-hmm.
As his wife carried out CPR in a desperate bid to save his life, Tapp recalled experiencing a range of strange sensations. He broadly described it as seeing spherically from a single point outward. And I wasn't Adam, he said. I wasn't dead. I wasn't anything, he said. I was just perfect, like absolute contentment. There was no sense of consistency with anything. I was simply existing as awareness. And then I felt sort of this frequency start washing over me. And it was like this fractal patterns. It was like gasoline on water, this rainbow effect that was iridescent to some extent. And it was just this juxtaposition of thoughts and feelings and emotions. It was like basically becoming fabric of the universe. And it was absolutely perfect. Like there was no fear and it was nothing. This was just the natural progression of what every single one of us is going to do. He eventually awoke in hospital after being in a coma for around 8 hours, though to him, it had seemed as though a much greater amount of time had passed. Like if someone had told me it had been 5 years or a decade, I would have been completely on point with that. Even after being released from the hospital, Tapp's experience hadn't fully left him. I was left with this overwhelming sense that this is just the stage, he said. It's kind of deep that this is just the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It is simply an evolution of consciousness, he said. That's some deep stuff. So with that in mind, Mel, is it something where the longer you're dead, the deeper you get?
Kind of sounds like it.
Yeah. Do you think he went deep, deep, deep? Like this wasn't just your typical, I saw a white light, the relatives were there, they booted me back into my body. You weren't meant to be here type thing. Do you think he made it all the way over?
I don't know, because to see shapes and colors and stuff, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
It sounds to me like he landed, or he landed into what his idea of the afterlife is.
Yeah.
And he wasn't supposed to come back. Something brought him back. Because it sounds to me like to be shocked back here was not the plan.
Right.
It just seems to me like it was a fluke that he came back. Because when it almost sounds like he's, I'm going to use a term that a recent guest of ours used, a guest from last week, an ascended master. when someone has that peace about them,
Mhm.
that when they walk around, like they know a secret that nobody else knows,
Yeah.
that type of aura about them, it's like he knows that secret, right? He's been there. He knows the secret of what we don't know yet, right? I think he went to a place he wasn't supposed to go. And he snuck into the cupboard while mom and dad were away, right? And he saw the Christmas gifts. He's seen it all. And so now he's just waiting for Christmas. It's all been revealed to him. So how do you live the rest of your life once you've seen the Christmas gifts, right?
Yeah, unless he just wants to share his knowledge.
That could be.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. He'd be an interesting one to talk to, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. All right. Our next story has to do with MK Ultra and a newly published archive detailing the CIA's MK Ultra mind control program. For 2 decades, the CIA conducted secretive experiments into mind control and psychological manipulation. Now, MK Ultra has always been one of those stories, for lack of a better term, where people have their conjecture and they have what actually has happened. Now we're going to get what actually happened. The highly controversial and clandestine program, which was founded in 1953 and continued until 1973, and involved the use of various mind-altering substances, procedures, and techniques to control and manipulate individuals. In many cases, it happened outside of their knowledge or consent. When details of the program were later uncovered by the New York Times, the CIA was subject to accusations of abuse of power, and its actions were condemned as a violation of human rights. Now, 50 years on, the National Security Archive has published online a treasure trove of documents and files pertaining not only to MK Ultra, but to several other similar CIA programs. Under code names that included MK Ultra, Bluebird, and Artichoke. It's a hell of a name for a government
Yeah.
mind control program. Artichoke, would you like some dip? The CIA conducted terrifying experiments, including using drugs, hypnosis, isolation, sensory deprivation, and other extreme techniques on human subjects, often U.S. citizens, who frequently had no idea what was being done to them or that they were a part of a CIA test, according to the archive. Of particular note in the new archive are documents pertaining to the CIA's establishment of interrogation teams who would use the polygraph, drugs, and hypnotism to brainwash individuals, as well as those concerning clandestine experiments in which federal prisoners were given extremely large doses of mind-altering drugs to find out what would happen. That just sounds like a party at college.
Yeah.
It's a story about secrecy, perhaps the most infamous cover-up in the agency's history, the archive wrote. It's also a history marked by near total impunity at the institutional and individual levels for countless abuses committed across decades, not during interrogations of enemy agents or in wartime situations, but during ordinary medical treatments inside prison hospitals, addiction clinics, and juvenile detention facilities, and in many cases led by top figures in the field of the behavioral sciences. So there is a link to the documents on the archive's website in this particular article. So I tell you what, we'll throw up another link so you can check out the archives for yourself. It sounds like interesting reading.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. If you want to see for yourself what exactly is behind MK Ultra. All right. It turns out the Loch Ness Monster and the hopes for the Loch Ness Monster have been boosted after a mysterious 20-foot dark shape has been spotted in the water. A mysterious object has been spotted in Loch Ness, and many are hoping that this could be a new sighting of Nessie, according to Scottish folklore's most famous expert. A mysterious 20-foot long object has been spotted in Loch Ness, sparking intrigue that it could be Nessie. The image was captured on a 24/7 webcam located near the shore of the southwestern end of the well-known waterway, and showed a long, dark object heading towards Cherry Island. The Loch Ness Monster, known affectionately as Nessie, is arguably the most recognized aspect of Scottish folklore. It is often described as large, long-necked, and with one or more humps protruding from the water. A report of this current possible sighting said the object, whatever it was captured on the Shoreland Lodge's webcam. The object was moving close to shore towards the Cherry Island direction before turning and heading further out into the loch and disappearing out of sight. It was spotted on Sunday, January 5th between 4:41 p.m. and 4:48 p.m., leaving Nessie enthusiasts pretty excited. One said they can't wait to see how this turns out, and another declared, looks amazing if real. However, one local offered a different explanation. Ellie Russell said, the recent storms have brought hundreds of big chunks of wood to the loch. I've seen trees washed up on the shore. Some of the wood in the water is pretty large. Could it be this? Public interest in the creature became worldwide when an account of an alleged sighting was published in a newspaper in 1933, which led to the creation of the Loch Ness Monster name. Evidence of its existence is anecdotal, with a number of disputed photographs and sonar readings. However, last August, Loch Ness detectors picked up a regular heartbeat deep in the water. The rhythmic pulsing was detected on a hydrophone, a device that measures underwater sounds in all directions, that was deployed 100 feet below the Scottish lake surface. Alan McKenna from the research group Loch Ness Exploration said, we deployed the hydrophone, which was lowered down to 30 meters below the surface, close to where Robert Rhines' strobe camera was placed in 1972. At around 10:41 a.m., we started to pick up a strange sound. This is the first time hearing the pulse or heartbeat so clearly. I'm not suggesting it's a heartbeat. I'm merely using that as a description. So there you go. So I don't know, Mel. Maybe there's a new sighting. Just saying. All right, finally today, we end today's Supernatural News with this. There may be new rights in Maryland for witches.
Okay.
It's been a while since there have been new rights for witches in the Northeast, so we take it as a little bit of a wind. Or a wind, not wind. You could have wind for witches. They need them to fly their brooms on.
Right.
Maryland General Assembly witchcraft resolution sparks a debate on lawmakers' priorities. I don't think they think it's very funny in Perry Hall, Maryland. A joint resolution was introduced on the first day of the 2025 Maryland General Assembly session to exonerate settlers accused of witchcraft nearly 400 years ago. Hey, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to start slow in these sessions, right? I mean, that's the theory anyway. Delegate Heather Bagnall, who's a Democrat from Anne Arundel County, is the sole resolution sponsor that would require the state government to formally apologize to colonists. I don't know how you're going to. You got to get in a time machine. Who faced witch trials prior to the nation's independence. The 2-page initiative was pre-filed on October 28th, just days before Halloween. The resolution says constitutional protections were absent during colonial Maryland witch trials. Delegate Bagnall's effort characterizes these prosecutions as a miscarriage of justice, adding that the witch trials unfairly led to community strife and panic. The historical status of women was radically different than it is today. The resolution says misogyny played a large part in the trial of supposed witches and in denying defendants their rights and dignity. Bagnall's proposal closely resembles a resolution adopted by the Connecticut General Assembly in 2023. Additionally, the Massachusetts legislature has made efforts over the past 4 years to clear the names of those accused of demonic sorcery during the Salem witch trials, which filled the colony's courts throughout much of the 1600s. The Maryland resolution has garnered support from various online groups and individuals, including Sarah Jack, a podcaster and self-proclaimed descendant of an accused Salem witch. Interesting. Join us in support of Maryland's proposed resolution to exonerate Rebecca Fowler, a woman accused of her witchcraft conviction in Colony, Maryland. Jack's ex-post said, The Maryland Historical Society wrote in its quarterly magazine published in 1936 that Fowler was the first colonist convicted by a jury and executed for witchcraft within the state's colony. Fowler's reportedly lived in Calvert County at the time of her felony trial in 1685. According to the Maryland Center for History and Culture, or MCHC website, the first recorded witch trial in the state predated Fowler's execution. The website says in 1654, sailors aboard the Charity of London, traveling to what is now St. Mary's County, suspected that passenger Mary Lee was practicing magic. MCHC's website adds that Lee was allegedly hanged during the voyage before an official trial could occur in colonial Maryland. That's just downright rude. During an interview on Saturday with Spotlight on Maryland, Delegate Kathy, I believe this is Zaliga, a Republican from Baltimore County, questioned whether it is timely for the General Assembly to debate her colleague's resolution. The wet blanket said, "I'm just a little disappointed that the legislature is going to spend time, energy, and money looking at apologizing for witchcraft and the trauma that may have caused 7 people 350 years ago," Delegate Zaliga said. It's an apology. It's one resolution.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to kill you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just pass the thing, sign it, and move on. It's not going to hurt anybody. The resolution was advanced on Wednesday to the House Rules and Executive Nominations Committee, of which Delegate Zaliga is a member. Well, that's why she's got wild hair. She actually has to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
A Pew Research Center study estimates that nearly 1.5 million Americans adhere to New Age spiritual philosophies, including witchcraft, pagan, or Wiccan beliefs. The study also found that beliefs about the supernatural powers of magic are rapidly growing, particularly among millennial and Gen Z women, who make up most of these religious followers. Well, Delegate Zaliga, go ahead and piss them off and see what happens. Just saying.
Yeah.
Spotlight on Maryland contacted several New Age organizations and supply stores in the Baltimore area on Saturday. This would be interesting. One store owner who requested not to be identified agreed to discuss the prevalence of modern-day witchcraft in the state. However, the conversation abruptly ended when Delegate Bagnall's resolution was mentioned. Meanwhile, Delegate Zaliga questioned who would benefit if the resolution was passed. Delegate Zaliga then said, "I think it's more leftist Hollywood elitists trying to get a foothold, making Maryland a guinea pig for those ultra extreme radical feminist movements that are going on." Somebody's a little wound too tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spotlight on Maryland interviewed several residents running errands at the festival at Perry Hall Shopping Center in Baltimore County. Jess McDwyer, wearing a gray sweatshirt that read, "They didn't burn witches, they burned women," said she feels it is about time the General Assembly addresses the issue. I think it's wonderful, McDwyer said. "I think there was a lot we didn't know about 400 years ago about maybe mental health. Women have been through so much in history and have been through a lot, especially women not knowing about mental health." Angela, I believe this is Hubschman, held a different perspective and challenged the priorities of the bill's sponsors. Oh boy. I find it interesting that people are challenging something that's a simple apology, Mallie.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of funny. She says, "I think there are other things more important, like my homeowner taxes have skyrocketed. My mortgage bill has gone up and the water bill is going up." Hubschman said, "This is completely not important." Delegate Bagnall's office denied multiple requests from Spotlight on Maryland for comments in an interview. It's an apology, folks. Just sign it. It's not that tough. Just sign it. Sign it and move on. We did something similar. Didn't we do something similar here in Minnesota with indigenous tribes? Wasn't there an apology to indigenous tribes?
I don't remember, to be honest.
I want to say there was, and they signed it, and it was no big deal. I think. I'm not sure. I want to say.
Yeah.
An apology costs nothing but paper and ink, right?
Yep.
And a bit of sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. And that's your lesson for today, kids. We can all make the world a little better place if we just say, I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's right. All right, that'll do it for today. Mallie, what's going on with paranormalgirl.com?
Just check it out for the merchandise.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Gotta get my baking on again. I burned out over the holidays of baking because I did so much, and now I'm like,
I thought you were going to say you burned down the house bacon during the holidays.
No. I did a lot of bacon.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't do that. Don't burn down the house bacon.
No. And that would be funny considering my husband's a firefighter.
That would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You off doing other things, playing cards or eating baked beans or something like that. And
Yeah.
probably let the house burn down while you were baking. That'd be odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
Well, here on the Darkness Radio front, in case you haven't seen the little notification in your Apple device, there is an update to the Darkness Radio Apple app. Make sure you download the update.
Okay.
And if you've gotten a little tired of, because there's a little bit of a lag between the latest iOS update and the Darkness Radio update, Darkness Radio app update. If you had went, I can't get my episodes anymore, screw it, and you got rid of it, re-download it. So, yeah, because I know some people get a little impatient. So, so re-download it if you got a little impatient. So that's what I would encourage you to do. It is up and running and going, and everything is fine and hunky-dory with that. So that's one thing I want to remind you of. There's also new merch up in the Darkness Radio store. So check that out as well. The last housekeeping note, if you would like to be an executive producer of the program, we encourage you to send me an email so you can be a working member of Darkness Radio. Now, I will remind you that this is a way to help us out financially with the show. So, wink.
Gotcha.
Okay. So send me an email, tim@darknessradio.com. It's kind of like the way Hollywood executive producers work. I'll just throw that hint in there as well. So you can do that by sending me an email, tim@darknessradio.com. I'll explain how it works. And I still have to get back to 2 people on that deal. So there's 2 or 3 people that have emailed me on it so far. We do have an executive producer of today's show, Mallie. Yeah, how do you like them apples? So we have 1 executive producer already. So with that, I want to say thank you to today's executive producer on the show. Our executive producer of today's show is Troy Palmer.
Okay.
So thank you so much to Troy for being our executive producer today. So thank you so much, Troy. Appreciate all your support and appreciate what you've done for the show. So
Thank you, Troy.
thank you. All right. Tomorrow on the big program, we have an old friend stopping by. And we're going to talk about, as a matter of fact, he's done some investigating in your neck of the woods, Mallie. Tim Miley is back on the program.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk potographs for pooches. We're going to talk about some of the stops in 2025. And we're going to talk about some of the events that are coming up for 2025. Along with maybe a potential new stuff in Minnesota. I don't know. Wait, I can't say it. But we'll just say that there's some new trips here in 2025 that we'll be talking about. So
very cool.
There you go. So yeah. So excited about tomorrow's show. So, and I think his wife will be joining him too.
Okay.
So it's not just a solo interview with Tim. So we'll be catching up with Tim and everything that's happened in 2024, everything that's coming up in 2025. We'll be talking about the animals. We'll be talking about everything that Potographs for Pooches has done in 2024. Lots of good stuff on tomorrow's show. Looking forward to it. So, yeah. So that'll do it for today, Mal.
Excellent.
Any last words? I sound like I'm putting you to death.
Go Lions.
All right, go Lions. I got nobody else to root for anymore. Go Lions. I got nobody else to root for. Although you don't want me rooting for the Lions. I'm the kiss of death here.
Okay, then you need to root for Kansas City.
Go Chiefs.
There we go.
There you go. Go Mahomes. No, Chiefs fans are going to be like, get off my bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. Once you said that you're basically the kiss of death for the team, no one's going to want you.
That's right. They're going to be like, get off my bandwagon. It's full.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that'll do it for today. Tim Miley on The Big Show tomorrow. For Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us for the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, and cool swag, check out darknessradioshow.com. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow for Tim and Lauren Miley as we talk potographs for pooches.